Hiya pals, and welcome back to my Manaslu gear guide, where I am taking a closer look at everything that I'm taking on my upcoming expedition to the world's 8th highest mountain. Now if you're new here, thank you for joining me. My name's Callum, I'm a mountaineer, an aspiring mountain guide, and in today's episode I'm going to talk about accessories. Right, let's get stuck in. Now, in my opinion, the most important aspect of any expedition, trip, hill walk, hike, whatever it is you're doing, it's your backpack. So it's how do you carry the things you need for that trip? Well, for me, I've got something new this year, and it's this guy. This is the Pajak HD3. I did loads of research on backpacks specifically for expedition use and high altitude use, and there was a few, for full disclosure, there was a few that I was looking at, and I ended up plumping for the Pajak for a few different reasons, but mainly because it was the backpack that was able to tick the most boxes, and those boxes that I wanted to tick were that it was an expandable volume. So this bag is, they call it a 45-260 bag, which essentially means when you have the top rolled down, it acts and behaves similarly to a 45-litre pack, but when you have the top extended and the compression straps open up fully, you get a 60-litre backpack. Now, very important, because when you're carrying loads, you want the extra volume, but when you're not carrying loads, you want to be able to cinch that pack right down. It does all the normal things like carry ice axes, and it's got lots of gear loops on it as well, which was another thing that I was specifically looking for, the ability to modify or attach things to this pack. The other important aspect that I was really keen on was having a pack that was able to stand up to expedition life. Now, this is made of X-Pack material, and I'm not an expert on materials by any means, but my understanding is that there's fibres that run through the fabric which give it extra strength, and I believe they are carbon fibre. It's also got extra thick padding on the bottom for when you're sitting it on the ground. Now, the other important aspect about this pack, which I felt was essential, was that the hip belt is removable. So when you're wearing a harness and carrying heavier loads, you don't necessarily use the hip belt because it gets in the way, so you can strip that right off, which is great. And it's also got a flexible back. There's a bit of rigidity in it, but for the most part, it is pretty flexible. So yeah, I guess I'll do a fuller review once I've used it, but I am excited by this pack. I think it's got loads of really cool features, like these sort of pockets on the front, which I'm a big fan of. And the big stretchy side pockets, which I'm confident will also be able to take an oxygen cylinder. So yeah, there's loads to love about it. And yeah, a fuller review will follow. But sticking on the themes of bags, there's one aspect to expedition life that I think people don't talk about, and that is the ability to leave stuff in your major city. Now, for me, that's Kathmandu, and I'm taking this little packable duffel, and what it does is it just allows me to leave town clothes, jeans, t-shirt, shirt, trainers, whatever. I can leave all of that in the hotel in Kathmandu. Now, for traveling, I've got again another new little accessory, but I am a big fan of a bum bag or a shoulder bag, or whatever you want to call it these days, but something that you can carry your passport, some hand sanitizer, snacks, money. I think it's a really essential piece, and this will come all the way up the mountain with me, and it'll act more like a wallet on the mountain as opposed to an actual bum bag. Let's just make our way across the table. There's a few obvious things like walking poles. I'm not going to explain why and how walking poles work, but I'm taking my trusty new walking poles for this year from OEX. They are called the Ultralight Carbon X. They're about half the price of black diamonds and they weigh less, and I found them to be just as sturdy. So yeah, going with them. Now, these bags are quite important. They're already organized, they're already packed, but I'm going to show you them in full detail in just a wee second. But I will mention what I'm also carrying on my person a lot of the time. So this is the contents of my, what I loosely call my first aid slash emergency provision kit. And this all lives in this little red bag. And that is a few different things. You have, importantly, hand sanitizer. I think good sanitation on the mountain is absolute essential to a successful expedition. You need to be on top of your hygiene. So no matter where I am, I always carry some hand sanitizer. Next is some saline solution for contact lenses and some eye drops. Now, as a contact lens wearer, it's really important that I am on top of my eye health, and I need to know exactly what to do in any given situation, especially when it comes to being able to see, because without my contacts I am pretty blind. I'll also have a little contact tub, and I'll have a pair of glasses, which I don't have on the table right now, but they'll always be in my little bag. Some fun stuff. I have my head torch. It's a head torch. I have an emergency whistle. I think it's really important, and you should know your emergency signals as well. So if you don't know, it's 6 blasts of the whistle and you wait for 3 reply. I also have some hair bobbles because, well, I used to have long hair, but I actually found that I would use them for anything but my hair. They're really good for keeping just things together. Like if you need to, I don't know, clump some of these things together, you can put a hair bobble on it. I think they're much better than elastic bands, and they're much more versatile, so I always carry a couple of them. Some dry wash. Again, hygiene is super important, so you want to make sure that, as well as your hand sanitizer, you have a way that you can actually wash your hands without the need for running water or even a water supply. So I think that's a really, really good thing to have. I have my fancy R7 watch, and again, I probably won't use this for anything other than just telling the time and the altimeter that's built into it, which I think is going to be pretty handy. Sun cream. I'm from Scotland. I always wear factor 50. If anyone offers you anything below factor 50 in the high altitude mountains, then they must have like super duper skin. But for me, factor 50 is king. I have a snow basket. Why a snow basket? Well, I'm going into an environment where there's lots of snow and ice, and you don't want your pole necessarily falling all the way through deep snowpacks. So a snow basket is just a really, really handy thing to sort of stop that. I then have a small repair kit. These are little waterproof patches of varying sizes, and I've also got large ones that I can cut down to size, and this allows me to fix any little rips in any of my clothing or equipment. I then have a bag of tape. Now in this tape I have a tape bag. I have 3 different types of tape. I have trusty gaffer tape. I have sport tape, which is already cut to size with the edges rounded, which makes it really easy for applying, especially to like feet, for example, if I do get any blisters. And I also carry this very fancy Hyperfix tape, and I tend to carry that instead of plasters because I think it sticks better and it's getting much more versatility in terms of its use. Like if you want to wrap your toes, for example, or any other parts of like your fingers or whatever, I think that tape is particularly good. I then have a very, very small, I mean, this is the main first aid kit really, but what's inside this is paracetamol, ibuprofen, Rennies, and some water purification, along with a couple of earplugs. It's not a lot of each of them, but it's enough that I can get through a day without having to dip into the bigger bags. I'm also carrying some face masks. It's a bit of a hark back to 2020 these, but I mean, Nepal's very dusty, especially on the trails. If you don't want to use a buff, you definitely need some way of stopping dust particles coming into your mouth and into your lungs. And face masks are a super cheap alternative that you can wear when it's really hot, really dusty. You can just stick one of these on, stops you inhaling all that gunk. Yeah, I'm definitely going to be using them. I then have a pack cover. This pack doesn't come with a pack cover. I'm not even 100% sure it needs a pack cover because I'm going to have everything in dry bags that's going to be inside it, and then the material itself I think has a degree of waterproofness. But a pack cover I think has multifunctional uses. It doesn't just need to go over your pack. You can also use it to sit on, lie on, you can get changed on it. I think it has a good legitimate reason to be included in this list. This is not a drinks canteen. This is in no way going to be used for drinking. This is my pee bottle. And yeah, I think that's all you need to say about this really. It's so that you can not leave your tent in the middle of a freezing night. You can simply open the top, make sure it's wide mouthed, and you can go in this and then empty it in the morning. I think a lot of people like joke about it, but I found it to be essential on my last trip to Nepal, and yeah, this time around I'm sure it'll be exactly as essential. I've also got a couple of Scotland flags because there's no way you can get on one of these huge expeditions and not take some kind of representation for your country. So yeah, I've got two of them, one for me and one for Alan, who's also coming with me. And this is my travel accessories. So inside this little bag is an eye mask and an inflatable pillow, and they will probably end up living in here in this duffel bag, which will stay at the hotel in Kathmandu. Right, let's move on to these big bags. So another bag of face masks. Again, one bag of face masks I'll have specifically for trekking to Kathmandu, and the other I will have for actually traveling to Nepal, because it's it's quite long haul flights, and if there's, for example, someone near you on the plane that's, maybe a bit poorly, maybe they've got a cold, I want to be able to protect myself from that. I can't think of anything worse than like getting ill on the way to start the expedition. So I don't think there's any harm in that, especially in an environment with recycled air. I'm going to make sure I have some of those. Right, let's move on to these important things. So this bag is a bag of toilet paper, specifically wet wipes for sensitive skin. You could go with regular toilet paper if you want. You can also buy toilet paper pretty much all over the mountain and on most like major treks and non-major treks, to be fair. But it's a little bit of comfort having a wet wipe for after you go to the toilet, because it's just nice. That's it. It's just nice. It just feels good. And yeah, this is my little piece of comfort. So I've got 4 packets of wet wipes that are coming with me. And there's also an extra bag in here so that when the open packet is open, it can stay in its own little bag. So yeah, that's coming. And then these are shower wipes. Again, it's for a little bit of comfort, because at the end of a long day, you want to be able to make sure that you are taking care of yourself. And as I've mentioned, hygiene is super important. So being able to clean your feet, in between your toes, pits and bits, I think it's super essential to be practicing good hygiene. So I've got some 5 packets of shower wipes, which I can reasonably stretch out for the expedition. Now, the important stuff. Let's talk about toiletries first. So toiletries, Loads of things in here that I mean, it's all essential. Everything that's on this table is essential because it's coming. So let's just have a divvy through of this. We've got contact lenses, and these are extended wear contact lenses, which means that I can get away with sleeping in them. This is why I carry the eye drops as well, so that I can constantly lubricate them. Deodorant, contact lens tubs, so I've got 2 of those. One might end up like on my person, like in my medical little bag here, and one might end up in the big duffels. I've got extra earplugs, I've got more Hyperfix and sport tape. I've got extra sun cream, I've got a toothbrush, toothpaste, extra eye drops, some nail clippers. Nail clippers are really important because as your toes grow, they start to hit into your boots. You want to keep your nails short at all times. So toenail clippers, really important. I've then got some extra wash, some dry wash and all-purpose wash. Another essential is some moisturising cream. The air is really dry at high altitude. So you want to make sure you've got a way to sort of protect those delicate areas, your hands that get cracked to your face. And then I have an extra contact lens solution, and then some extra wash, some pits and bits, some shampoo and some body wash, which you don't need water for. So again, I'm really thinking about hygiene. Pretty much all my thoughts are make sure you take care of yourself. Now this bag is a very exciting bag because this is my medicine cabinet, and it has everything to hopefully alleviate any problems that I face. So it has Rennies, it has some max strength strepsils, so throat sweeties are really important. You want to make sure that, you know, as I've mentioned, the air is cold and dry, it's dusty, you want to make sure that you can, you know, lubricate your throat, and strepsils are really good at providing antibacterial properties as well. These are, gosh, I'm going to mispronounce the name, azithromycin, azithromycin, that one. And it's an antibiotic, so it's to specifically treat travellers' diarrhea. And I guess you could ask, you know, is there not medical facilities on the mountain? Does your expedition not have like a doctor? I mean, all those things you can say yes to for sure. Like there's definitely places on treks and in the mountains where you can get access to stuff like this. Maybe not in the remotest of places, and yes, our team will have a pretty stocked medical supply, but I think it's always good practice to carry stuff that you know you might need on yourself, like either in your duffel or on your person. And yeah, an antibiotic to treat DMV is one of the things that I'm definitely going to carry. I then have loads of water purification tablets. I have loads of paracetamol, loads of ibuprofen. I've got, this is the fun stuff. I always get this wrong. Acetazolamide, acetazolamide, yes! Also known as Diamox. Now this is a drug for help with altitude sickness mainly, but you can take it as a preventative, and that's what I've done on my previous high altitude climbs. I'm not 100% sure if I'm going to do it on this one. I wanted to have the option, so I've got Diamox. We're just going to call it Diamox because that's the old brand name for this specific pill. But yeah, it really does help with staving off altitude sickness symptoms. Totally essential. I've then got some Dioralite, which is a rehydration sachet, which will probably be getting used. I then have some loperamide, which it's an anti-diarrhea tablet. Loperamide is the chemical name for the drug, and it's pretty effective. I then also have some loratadine, which is an antihistamine. Now, the last time that I was in Kathmandu, I found that it was quite polluted and I ended up getting a sinus infection on the way home. The antihistamines really helped alleviate some of those dust allergies, and loratadine is one of the antihistamines that is specifically formulated for dust. So yeah, got some of them. And that's it. Yeah, it's a good supply of stuff. The other things that I actually don't have here specifically are my 2 duffel bags. Both are 100 litres and both will accommodate, hopefully, everything. So I'm taking 2 duffel bags purely because of the volume of stuff that I am taking. Yeah, that's it for accessories. Thank you so much for watching. If you've got any thoughts, questions, please do leave us a comment, and I'll see you in the next installment of this series very soon.